Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome to UX, and this is Russian troops assault of Bradley. Yep, it goes very wrong. Welcome, Cappy Army. M2 Bradley. That's all I know about the acronyms. M2. Bradley is one of the most insane troops movement vehicle, but apparently it has a launcher that has a higher range or longer range than any known tank. And it has a wire attached to it. Somehow the wire goes all the way. I guess when he launched the missiles, bird goes by. Yeah, the bird's gonna die apparently. I don't know how that works. That's an insanely long range, and that's a long wire. But yeah, Bradley is so overpowered in that way, because if a Bradley detects a tank and it's in the like longer range than cannon can shoot, that tank can do nothing but watch Bradley shoot it down. That's how overpowered it is. So I'm guessing something similar happened here. I mean, I've been watching Ukraine-Russia videos since it started, right? And we've seen like how Bradleys excel at this because of close counters, guerrilla warfare type things. Tanks usually need open fields and marching in mass. If you're gonna hide behind objects here and there, it's gonna be something like a guerrilla warfare. Yeah, Bradley should be overpowered, which it is here. Let's watch one.
Welcome back. Today we're analyzing some of the worst combat footage ever captured. The Russian BTR armored vehicle is assaulting forward across the kill zone in daylight. A Ukrainian anti-tank guided missile explodes just 10 meters to the left of the vehicle. The BTR keeps gunning it straight down the road past a burnt out armored vehicle. We can see from the drone footage there's a squad of Russian infantry riding on top of the armored vehicle in an attempt to put more distance between themselves and any possible.
Is this now allowed? I don't know. I'm there's certain level of anxiety now. Is this gonna work? I mean, this video exists, so probably, I don't know.
Landmines underneath. They are driving full speed ahead through no man's land to a drop-off point. This battle took place in 2024, right after the fall of the Ukrainian town of Avdiivka. Russian forces started assaulting forward in an attempt to quickly capitalize on their gains. This combat footage has been geolocated to here, the town of Barrage near Avdiivka. Russian forces are attempting to gain a foothold here. They are attacking from Stevpov and Berdouchki as their two landing points. Their goal is to push their breakthrough as far as possible. They reach the predetermined drop-off point near some houses. The BTR stops and the Russian infantry jump off. They quickly all scatter to where the cover and concealment is on the side of the road.
That's cover, a bush, tree line.
They're aiming to bunker down inside of the homes here and
what is this, stalker? That's a destroyed, like farmstead or something.
Wait for more reinforcements on their position. But first, all the animation work in today's episode is sponsored.
You remember playing that? I mean, I don't know, if you're a gamer, there was a game called Battlefield 1 which showed World War 1 like gameplay, and I remember when you played it, it was so intense, and if you died, it showed this is the time period, this is how much you lived, and you move on to someone else and just shift right from person to person. And that made me really like feel like what it is to be a soldier in a war, in a front line. You have there is nothing in your hand. It's all luck. You might die like nothing, even if it's not your... Most time it's not your fault. Fault as in like your ability fault. Because you couldn't do anything else. So most of the time, soldiers go through front line, a missile come on or something, or like they're just charging in the enemy fire. They can't do nothing. There is not much of a cover there. Most of the time, these people will die. Right? You remember the World War I scenario where, like British troop and French troop in the, like French trenches just told people to go into the, like no man's land just to die. They knew these people are just going there to die. But this will save them time, so it's good enough. We as a humanity was there. Like we're going to send these people into this human meat grinder just so it saves us time. So at the other side, we don't lose ground. Just to create pressure. Human bodies were used to create pressure tactics. This is warfare, people. I'm sure something like that must be happening in this one as well. Yeah, well, go to original page link from there, support this channel.
The description or the pinned comment below. Russian infantry have dismounted and are taking cover in the bushes. They appear to be lower ranking, less well equipped compared to some other units that we've seen. Sometimes the initial storm units are filled out with punished soldiers on these high-risk missions. Once the Russian BTR has dropped off the squad, it does something unusual. Instead of staying and laying down covering fire for the infantry, it leaves them there. The reason they're dropped off at this location is because if you notice, the terrain and geography dictate this spot as being the optimal location. It's 500 meters from a river crossing to the west. This is the only way to cross the water gap, is to first send in the Russian infantry across there to clear where the Ukrainians have set up their defenses on the natural water barrier on the west of the river. The BTR drives down the same road that they came from. Suddenly, we see a Ukrainian FPV drone is tailing the armored vehicle. It strikes the top of the BTR. The explosion may have knocked out the crew inside the vehicle because it comes to a halt. A second FPV strike on its rear armor starts a fire inside the BTR. The vehicle.
So at least imagine if this happened before when they unloaded all the soldiers. See, this is such an effed up thing because it's open that there is no protection against FPV. Those Bradley style infantry vehicles are enclosed, so you're inside, at least you survive. This is just effed up, man. At least this was mostly empty. Only driver was there, I guess.
Can be seen burning. The drone strike focused on the armor first instead of attacking the Russian foot soldiers. This was done as a way to cut off the Russian troops' ability to send in more reinforcements and supplies. Here we see a Ukrainian M2 Bradley infantry fighting vehicle driving up within 50 to 100 meters away from where the 7 Russian infantry were dropped off. They are only one house away. The M2 Bradley is attempting to get a better view of the dismounted soldiers.
How do you fight a Bradley on a foot with a basic assault rifle?
In order to get an angle to fire on them, the Russian infantry are pinned down by explosions and gunfire. They are unable to stand up and get into the safety of the house. The M2 Bradley fires high explosive shells all around the Russian infantry. Shrapnel flies through them. The Bradley continued firing into the Russian infantry positions. The fire makes it impossible for the infantry to stand up without support from their vehicle's autocannon. There are some parts that are
This is so stupid. Why did the infantry vehicle just drop them off and walked away without providing support? I'm pretty sure there are machine guns there. It's an infantry vehicle, right? Should have stayed there to bring support rather than go back. What did you do? You just got blown up anyway, and you didn't give support to your own troop. This is just effed up, man.
Too graphic that we had to cut out here, but the entire 7 Russian infantry squad is killed by the Bradley fire. The tactical error here was that they were dropped off too far forward, and they had no anti-tank weapons on them. The battle has only started though. Russian command sends in a second BTR.
What are they doing, man? They're not prepared, they're not thinking this, they're not giving them RPGs for the Bradleys or anything. They're just sending in people. I didn't know my comment is going to be this relevant about World War II and meat grinder. This is insane.
It drives straight through a landmine at top speed and keeps going, a piece of its armor hanging off the front. They pass the burnt out husk of 2 more armored vehicles. The BTR starts taking direct fire from a Ukrainian Bradley with its 25mm cannon shells. We can see shells exploding around the vehicle. They speed up, trying to get out of the kill zone. The Russian BTR reaches the drop-off point where a disabled BTR is parked. The Russian infantry dismount from top of the vehicle. They are under close drone
They are just sitting on the top of it, man.
surveillance. A round explodes near the disabled BTR. More shots hit the top of the vehicle and rear. Each one is sending out fragments at the speed of a bullet. What happens next is too graphic to show some of the footage, but the direct fire from the Ukrainian Bradley starts impacting on the 2 Russian armored vehicles and the Russian infantry. The rounds cut through the armored vehicles' hulls, fires start to break out around the brush, and the Russian troops attempt to regroup and render aid. Some are unable to get out of the vehicle. They take cover behind the BTR. 13 Russian soldiers.
Only way to do this is to give air support, which Russia doesn't have. You can't do this if you don't have an air support. If this was America, those troops would land there, an air support would be called out, A-10, AC-130, or even F-16, F-35, whatever, to bombard the area. So it's a suppressing fire at least, if not kill shot, and then progress. This is why you need air dominance. Russia doesn't have any air support, and this is happening. No country I can think of, major countries, would be caught off like this. If this was India, India would have air support. They would have made sure that they have some kind of an air element before they progress. Otherwise, they wouldn't even progress. They're like, this is where we're stuck now. We don't have air support, so we're not going to send in troops. What is Russia doing, man? If you don't have air support, you're not going to push in. You're just sending people into meat grinder.
Are KIA unable to find cover. 2 Russian soldiers survive and attempt to escape.
People tell me that this West Wing medias are lying about Russia-Ukraine thing and Ukraine is losing badly. Is this how Ukraine is losing? Did you see Ukraine losing? If this is just one scenario, imagine what is happening everywhere else. This is the mentality of Russian command. Just send in people without any support, and M2 Bradleys and Ukrainians are not even having any kind of resistance. They are just like farming XP at this point. They are just deleting people. There is no resistance. So if this is happening here, imagine what's happening everywhere else. How can you here tell me that Russia is gaining ground? Clearly it's not.
When the Russian units assaulted forward after capturing Avdiivka, they started to switch on-foot infiltration tactics that we see more of from this point in the war. They begin moving away from using armored vehicles. This Russian infantry team of 4 is moving forward on foot in an attempt to sneak in. They are hiding in a tree line for cover. A Ukrainian FPV drone hits in between the 2 Russian soldiers in the rear of the fire team, wounding them, pinning them down. Then another FPV hits the forward 2 soldiers and has the entire unit disoriented.
They're using FPVs like a grenade launchers. That's insane. Like, look at the use of FPV drones, man. Yeah, this is the modern warfare, man. FPV drones used like just munitions, like a grenade or grenade launcher or an RPG. Why use any of them when you have controlled FPV drones?
The strikes from the FPVs act as a visual mark for the Ukrainian Bradley crews over 700 meters away. They developed the tactic of striking as a reference point to aim at. The Bradley laser range finds the distance and a 25mm cannon starts to engage. But these rounds look a lot like airburst, but the 25mm cannon cannot fire airburst munitions. You need a 30mm cannon to fire that type of weapon, at least for these older type of Bradleys. Those shells are instead likely impacting on the trees. The assault in this direction continues with a Russian MTLB dropping off more troops. A Ukrainian Bradley opens fire and the rounds cut through the MTLB, starting a fire. The assault begins with the Ukrainian
This is the power of overpowered American equipment, M2s. These are not even the most upgraded M2s. And look at the power against Russia. You have M2 Bradley, the weapon it has, and like infrared finder and everything. There you go.
Artillery bombardment. Hundreds of shells rain down on the Russian fortifications. They soften up the defenses for the ground push that's about to happen. Cluster munitions explode all over the town to detonate any anti-tank mines that might be waiting for them. Their surveillance drones watch overhead. Over the next 30 hours, Ukraine's 3rd Assault Brigade and its soldiers will be locked in some of the most brutal combat of the war.
30 hours!
Their goal is to recapture one of the last remaining towns in the entire Luhansk Oblast. This is the battle for the town of Nadia in Luhansk in March 2025, and I believe it's one of the best examples of combined arms warfare ever caught on video. As shells rain,
the town was a town. Kids playing, people farming, a farmstead, and look at now, it's a Call of Duty map for 30 hours. This is insane. This is warfare, people.
Down, suppressing the
This is why Americans are saying we don't want troops on ground on Iran. Because troops on ground, those are human lives.
The first platoon of 7 Ukrainian armored vehicles drives headfirst into the occupied town. The column is led by 2 T-72 main battle tanks that are providing cover fire for 2 armored personnel carriers that are following behind them, about 50 meters spacing in between them. This distance between them prevents one hit from taking out multiple vehicles. The attack is from 5 separate Ukrainian companies. Each one is moving from a different direction on the town, with 2 of the companies cutting off Russia's reserve units units in the flank. The tanks lay down fire from their shells as they move forward. Command and control is everything here. Without constant updates, units lose direction fast, especially after sifting drop points of the infantry that we'll soon see. The only thing on their minds here.
Imagine a child in a big market. When child panics and doesn't see parents, child doesn't know where he is and panic seeps in. Even though child knows that's the exit, child can't see the exit. Why am I saying this? Warfare and intense warfare is basically like that. Yes, you are in a warfare. Yes, you kind of have the idea. But when the bullet starts flying, when explosions are happening, if you're not directed, you don't know I don't know where to go, what to do. Like chain of command is like, this is where everything comes into play.
Is clearing the kill zone, getting past the minefield, and dropping off the infantry, whose first job is to kill Russian anti-tank teams. This is the kill zone that we're looking at, the open ground between cover where everything is already pre-registered. Russian artillery, machine guns, drones are all dialed in. Survival comes down to surprise, speed, spacing, and suppression. It appears like the second tank in the convoy is damaged. It might have hit a mine there or an anti-tank munition hit it, but it continues moving forward. A Russian artillery shell can actually be seen flying through the air there if we slow it down. You could see it impacting just 25-30 meters in front of the M113 armored vehicle. The Ukrainian commander, hanging out the hatch of the armored vehicle, luckily doesn't get hit by any shrapnel. The live battlefield picture is fed back to the brigade's commander, Colonel Andriy Belitsky, who's in control of the operation. Belitsky is newly promoted to brigade general at this point, and he advises from the command post, where he monitors the progress of the offensive. He relays information on the movement of the enemy throughout the mission. Russian shells land all around their vehicle convoy, forcing the Ukrainians to adjust course to their drop-off point. A squad of Ukrainian infantry are crammed into the dark hull of the vehicle. They're protected from shrapnel, but a direct FPV drone hit or an ATGM would punch right through. This village has swapped hands multiple times in the conflict already. It was captured by Russian forces early in the invasion. It's the last one on the way to Kharkiv region, just 3 kilometers from the border with Kharkiv. Then it was reportedly liberated by Ukrainian forces in October 2022. Then, by the following August, the Ukrainian military reported that Nadia was being regularly targeted.
This is another reality of warfare. Back and forth, back and forth. It's just a graph for us. But imagine the people who fight for 30-40 hours, loses people around them, and then achieve something. They're like, at least we achieve ground, just so they can lose it next day. And like, what was all this for? This is another darkness of warfare.
By Russian artillery strikes, and the village was heavily contested before being recaptured by Russian forces in October 2023. Now, in this new assault, the 5 separate Ukrainian companies aim to retake it from Russia once again. Thermal optics on the Ukrainian drones overhead, as you can see here, monitor another company moving in to their drop-off point. The Ukrainian light infantry quickly drop ramp and disembark from their armored vehicles. Their drop-off point is next to a trench, so the soldiers can quickly get in there and take cover. They immediately start laying down suppressing fire with their rifles to keep the Russian heads down. Infantry dismounts are the most vulnerable moment in this mission. Seconds outside the vehicle, they're exposed, they're disoriented, they're under fire, and this is when most casualties happen. They're
spawn camping, as video gamers know. This is where they spawn, and Russia knows where to camp, because they've been watching the FPV vehicle coming. They're not going to shoot at the vehicle. No, they don't want to give out their location. As soon as they come out, that's it. Then they're going to shoot.
They're not aiming at any enemy there that they can actually see. They're just hoping that their rounds go close enough to the enemy's head to force them to duck while they're vulnerably getting out of their vehicles. The Ukrainian M113 commander gets out of the safety of the armor to try to clear a jam in his 50 caliber machine gun that's supposed to be suppressing the enemy. The vehicle commander tells the infantry on the ground that dismounts to run to the nearby tree line in front of them and take cover. You can tell the infantry are turned around. They've been in the dark, loud vehicle this whole time, and they don't have their bearings immediately. The infantry successfully move into the closest tree line, and they try to find cover from artillery, anything to not be out in the open, where they're easy to spot. 3rd Assault Brigade establishes a foothold here in the tree line. Their vehicle that just dropped them off, though, breaks down, and it's deadlined According to the soldiers, losing equipment like this is why infantry need to adapt and overcome, because nothing goes as planned. The squad leader points out the direction that they need to go towards the village. Right now, the enemy reinforcements are the ticking clock here. The longer the assault takes, the more likely it is that fresh Russian defenders will arrive to stabilize the line. The Ukrainian infantry aren't even in the town yet. They're still on the approach. It's another 300 meters from their position. They don't push all the way up with the vehicles to avoid Russian anti-tank teams that would take them out. The M113 vehicle pops smoke to cover itself while it's disabled. The smoke canisters conceal its position while they work on recovering it. It disrupts enemy targeting systems. Meanwhile, another armored vehicle lays down autocannon fire to protect them.
Up.
Everything you're seeing
He is just like hip firing basically without aiming, and the guy is just there. Imagine if like mistakenly does this and shoots the guy. So many opportunities to get screwed basically. Yeah. The more and more you see these clips, it's like, whoa.
is fed back to command. Drones overhead give a real-time map of enemy movement, letting commanders redirect units mid-fight. Infantry draw fire that reveals Russian positions. Command then sends in FPVs to strike those positions. Then the assault pushes forward. Repeat until the line collapses. The Russians are targeting the armored vehicles, trying to prevent them from leaving. Artillery rounds are falling danger close within 100 meters of the GoPro captured here. That might look far away, but large chunks of shrapnel about the size of your fist can fly further than that and rip a person's limb apart from there. The infantry are yelling to disperse and not to bunch up for that reason. They know from their maps that they have to make it to the end of a nearby pond here.
Найдіть укриття і вийди на мене нормально на зв'язок.
Отобьют связь, чтобы была связь нормальная, и тогда будем ПВБшечки делать.
Here we're playing the English dub version of the.
By the way, how does GoPro work? I know GoPros have only few hours of recording. This thing takes hours. Do they coordinate just when to start recording and just when to stop so recording doesn't get filled up completely? Like a streamer, these soldiers have to worry about fighting, getting shot at, and if the storage doesn't get full. Is that what you're telling me?
Video of the Ukrainian commander's orders so that it's easier for us to follow along because the fog of war is confusing enough. The problem the Ukrainian infantry have here is they need to advance out past the tree line into
Not just the storage, by the way, battery as well. I was talking about battery. Storage, you can have big, multiple terabytes, but battery, like it will be close fast.
an open field where they will be sitting ducks until they reach the next tree line. Here we pause and see a munition explode just a few feet away from this soldier. Here, Ukrainian commander Colonel Andriy Beletsky identifies that Russian soldiers are moving reinforcements in to hold the line. Russia does not want to lose control of the town because it took them 2 months to capture in the first place with 2 full motorized rifle regiments from the 752nd and 254th of the 20th Russian Army. Russian FPV drones buzz overhead. Ukrainian troops hear it, they look up and they start shooting. It appears like they hit the FPV as we see it run off course and explode in the open field. The commander in the TOC has a full picture of the battlefield and he's relaying enemy troop positions. The two sides are fighting over dugouts in this tree line. Some of them are occupied by Russian soldiers within 25 meters distance. It's a close quarters brawl. The infantry have to clear out this dugout before being cleared to advance the village. Within just 25 meters, whoever reacts first usually survives, which is why they use a tactic called pre-firing, shooting before you even see an enemy. It eats up a bunch of ammo, but your life is worth more than a bullet. Trenches turn into grenade fights quickly at this range.
In this kind of a warfare, that is how usually it works. People shoot randomly where they think troops are. That is how all of this works. In special operation and some kind of things like that, people usually like aim and shoot and they confirm first it's an operation. In kind of any kind of battlefield, yeah, that's what you're probably gonna do. If nothing else, it provides suppressing fire.
Yeah.
Then a Ukrainian squad leader has a terrifying realization. He figures out that they were dropped off far from where they were supposed to be. The heavy fire on the vehicles often makes the driver drop ramp and kick the infantry out too soon so that they can RTB and return back to base.
Диви, де ми. Далеко. Ми ось. А нам треба було ось сюди.
The unit has to reorient under fire now. This means they will lose momentum at a key.
Yeah, but isn't this time to chew ass of the guy who dropped them? Because look, I understand if you're afraid, but you're throwing real troops in just like far away. The likelihood of them getting deleted is much higher. Meanwhile, you had the cover of a vehicle. At least you should have said like, oh, I can't go closer, so I'm going to drop them off early or whatever, talk to command center or something. You know, oh my god, I'm getting shot at. Let's just drop off and run away. That's kind of like, that's effed up, man.
Key moment in the battle, leaving an opening for the Russians to surprise them and exploit them. Command merges 2 Ukrainian squads and sends reinforcements to help to make up for the error of dropping them off at the wrong place. In every battle, each side holds some of their forces in reserve so that they can deploy them as the battle takes shape, depending on the situation, where there's a weak spot or where there's a spot to exploit. This has been done since before Alexander the Great, and the correct use of your reserve forces can make or break an attack. Ukraine now deploys their reserve units who come driving in. Command commits reserves here on the front line.
Caesar really used that tactic a lot, though.
This is where they send fresh troops. Where
I know it said Alexander the Great, but I'm talking about Caesar. Caesar was basically fanboy of Alexander the Great. Obviously amplified things more than Alexander did. But he was using that tactic a lot.
The friendly lines are the weakest. They reinforce there. The best way to imagine this battle is that each squad is fighting its own battle. Each of the 5 companies in the assault are fighting dozens of small battles. The squads are split up, then they merge, and the success of one company helps the other to its left or right. Reserve forces decide fights like this because fresh units committed to the right moment can exploit confusion. They prevent a stalled assault from totally collapsing. The infantry run to clear the gap. While crossing the open terrain, they take artillery fire, but miraculously, they're not hit. Success when crossing open ground depends on how fast you're able to close that gap. The enemy needs to be disoriented. Slowly but surely, Ukraine is getting closer to their original objective point. What you're looking at now is the Ukrainian Mavic drone trying to pinpoint the location of an enemy PKM machine gun that's firing at them, but they're having trouble finding it. In the trench line, they find the enemy's location.
Yeah, PKM shoots that big round, I'm guessing, right? 7 point something by 52, 53 something, not the 39 one, which is the AK-47 one. PKM has a bigger round.
They blow the dugout to pieces with an FPV drone. It's too graphic to show here on YouTube, but if you want the uncensored rundowns, they're on Pepperbox, link is in the description. Commanders instruct the infantry to clear out
I'm surprised you can show all the thing you showed, man. I'm surprised by that.
The trench and tell them it's 15 meters long. These command posts are usually located not far from the battle, so they can maintain communications with them. Ukrainians clear the trenches while getting live updates on the enemy. The soldiers take a moment to rest inside the enemy's fortification before pressing forward. Ukraine's surveillance drones identify Russian troop movements in the distance. There's some FPV drone strikes against Russian troops, and dead bodies now litter the battlefield that we can't show here, but the infantry are advancing past it. Then the infantry find a place to sleep for the night, and on day 2, as we get closer to the end of 30 hours, the combined arms enters into a dance of constant pressure. Infantry are drawing fire, drone strikes in concert with armored advances as you see here. Each element forces the enemy to react until they break. Command spots Russian troops in the trenches and they send FPV drones to that position. The way this assault works, the whole tactic, the meta, is that as these infantry move up, they're forcing the Russian positions to fire at them. Then Ukraine command can pinpoint it and send an FPV drone strike. Rinse and repeat. Then once enough Russian positions and dugouts have been destroyed, it clears the way for what happens next. The Ukrainian main battle tanks and armor now push up. Now that it's safe...
Wait a minute, why can't you go around and flank them? Like one of the vehicles trying to flank them. Are there more Russians over that direction? Because if they're not, wouldn't it be better to flank them?
Now that there aren't Russian anti-tank teams in ditches nearby, they're able to move forward. In theory, they cover each other in this combined arms movement that relentlessly hammers the enemy.
Вот это вуп нахуй.
It looks like the Ukrainian tank fired out some kind of explosive grenade there against the entire whole tree line. I'm not familiar with what type of munition that is. If anyone knows, let me know. But we see the grenade explode into then multiple different parts of the tree line, clearing it out. A commander mentions a multiple launch rocket system was used. We see the Ukrainian armored vehicles push forward, clearing the path, while explosions go off all around them. Intercepted Russian communications say that they've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, they are adapting based on the warfare that they need, right? I mean, somebody's going to make a whole war book based on the Ukraine-Russia warfare because things they adapted to. Yeah.
Before. The infantry start moving through the village and clearing out the trenches and houses with gunfire. The Ukrainian soldier ideally wants to take Russian soldiers captive. It's a directive handed down to them because it helps them in prisoner swaps later with reclaiming their own prisoners of war. At this point, there are a lot of dead bodies that we can't show. Dozens of Russian KIA in buildings and in small ditches on the ground. The Ukrainians check their pulse, confirm that they're dead, and move on. They do what's called an EPW search that all soldiers train on this, where you go through the fallen documents looking for any valuable intelligence, maps, or orders that may be useful for command. The troops have made it to their objective. The only thing left is some last remaining Russian holdouts who refuse to surrender. Ukrainian drone spots 2 Russian infantry headed through the field trying to retreat. Small arms fire eliminates them. Now, a year later in 2026, the territory has once again allegedly fallen into Russian hands. Russia claims full capture of Luhansk Oblast for the 3rd time now, although Ukraine's 3rd Assault Brigade stated that they're still holding the line here and that they are still remaining in control of this village. 3rd Assault Brigade says they're still here and they have the footage to prove it. ISW has assessed that Russian forces control 99.84% of the oblast, with essentially just this last village of Nadia remaining. War can feel futile in this way, often where the same village with a pre-war population of just 25 people, 3 square kilometers, can be fought over and many hundreds can die over it, and it can change hands multiple times in the span of just a year. But even a tiny piece of territory like this can have significant symbolic meaning and can have a morale effect on the people, because even though
It's not about symbolic and it's not about 25 people. It's about progressing. If you don't take that, how are you going to go progress from that? You're trying to take over the territory, right? It's slow and grinding, but yeah, you still have to fight for it. Man, Russia is throwing insane amount of people. Even though they're getting deleted left and right, they're still taking over places because they're throwing that amount of people. What is the number, man? Casualty, MIA, KIA, what is the number? That's insane.
it sounds like a small piece of territory to me or you, this is the Ukrainians' homeland. To them, it's a big deal. I'm your average infantryman.
Yeah, it's just effed up, man. There's just one footage of a dark thing that has been happening for 4+ years, man. Number goes into millions. Can you even imagine the number? Imagine there are people in front of you. Can you even imagine millions? I'm going to tell you, no, you can't. It's scientifically impossible. You can basically imagine, a couple thousands, like tens of thousands at best. 1 million? No. Right? Remember that WrestleMania thing and all those other Super Bowl and whatever thing has 100,000 people. You see it, it looks like ants in a stadium. Now 1 million? Yeah, that's how many people have been deleted so far. Yeah. Right, well, there you go. Russian troops assault Bradley. It goes very badly. Yeah, Bradley is badly. It goes very wrong. Bradley is really overpowered, man. This is what happens with American equipment. This tells you like what happens if you point blank do a war against America. This is just one equipment from America. Imagine if you try to fight like this to America and America has all this equipment. Yeah, this is just sign. So there's going to be major whoop ass if you go point blank war with America, basically. Right, well, I guess I'll see you next time.